Hey guys, this is Rise, and I'm here with Klazart, as someone cleverly put it in the comments of the last video, the Vodfather. Oh, very punny, I like it. And we're going to be doing some more MSL games, which, if I said it right last time, MSL was in the left hand, OSL was in the right hand, so I guess we're back to the left hand, and we're going to be watching Kwanro versus Flash, set 2. If you guys were with us for the first one, which, if you didn't watch it, go watch it before I spoil it, because I'm about to spoil it right now. It was epic, and it was amazingly pulled out by Kwanro, in fact, to win that game with some crazy Ling run-bys, followed by a really clever lurker hide, and then just kill. I mean, and Flash really just was behind the entire time. He was playing in the dark. He just didn't know what was coming at him. He was preparing for Muta, of all things. And Kwanro, just very aggressive play as expected from Kwanro, was able to pull it out. So now I'm expecting a little bit of a different game, to be honest. I'm thinking that Flash is going to be quite violent and aggressive in return to make sure that he wins this, because he's been knocked out of the OSL already, and I'm sure he doesn't want the same to happen in the MSL. And so I'm really expecting him to bring his A game this game. But Kwanro, he's seen the light, he sees the chance, and he's going to go. He's an aggressive guy, so he is going to go for it. Klazart, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that Kwanro can possibly win 2 in a row against the Flash?
Well, he's given himself a great chance. I mean, he needs 2 games to progress past Flash to the next round. Flash just sending his SCV out now to scout. Kwanro with his Overlord heading across. This is a 2-player map. Kwanro at the top left at the end. Looks like Kwanro is going to take his natural X, but we might be seeing a 12 hatch from Kwanro here. I believe this is what he did in the last game. I think he went over 12 hatch, and then he kind of switched to lurkers and kind of caught Flash off guard once he'd taken his scout down, although I could be mistaken about that. Flash's SCV is going to spot that pretty soon. Flash at the bottom right in teal at the 5 o'clock position. Yeah, I mean, Kwanro, going into this matchup, knew he needed to win 2 games against Flash to take him down and to progress, and he's won 1 of them, so he's done 50% of the work, and he's got 2 chances now at repeating the feat. But if Flash can take a victory here, that will give him back his confidence. Kwanro now starting up, and yet definitely looked like it was a 12 hatch there, because spawning pool only just now starting up for Kwanro, along with his gas and his main as well. Flash with his SCV in there comfortably early enough, and it looks like Flash, we might be seeing a 14cc from Flash again, although with Kwanro going for a 12 hatch, 14cc could work out well from Flash, especially as Kwanro's Overlord is still some way towards scouting it. So it'll be interesting to see if Kwanro tries to adapt to this build of Flash, and Flash indeed with the 14cc, and it'll be interesting how Kwanro adapts, and whether he tries to go with the 2-hatch Muta build and play aggressively, or whether he continues with a more normal build and puts that 3rd hatchery down. That will be the key, I think, to deciding this match, because I think if Kwanro doesn't put pressure on Flash early, all of the games where we've seen Flash go 14cc and get pwned by Zerg especially, they've been when Zerg have applied early pressure on Flash when he's gone for that build. And it looks like, wow, 79% of the fans look like they favor Flash to win this, despite the previous matchup. So that just shows you what the Flash's opinions are, Rise.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, actually. I mean, that's a huge swing in what people think is possible. And wow, a lot of damage done to that spawning pool, by the way. I didn't even realize it was so damaged. That SCV probably going to get chased down by all those Lings at this point. But Flash has seen what he needed to see. He knows that there are Lings out now. He saw that there was a 12 hatch, and like we saw, he went for the very fast expansion. And at this point, though, I'm going to say that Flash is going to be sitting pretty if he can get that second barracks up, which is actually what he's going to do, as well as getting a bunker. So he's going to ensure that there isn't a repeat of the last game, essentially, and he's going to make sure that he can defend whatever it is Kwanro can throw at him off of 2 bases. And Kwanro is going for very fast 2-base tech. So now I doubt that he's going to go for the lurker build once again. I think that he's probably going to go for something more like Muta, because, I mean, although it was successful, but it looks like he's actually producing a massive amount of Lings, so it would appear that he's going for another run by. He's got speed Lings this time. Brilliant going behind the mineral line. He's going to be able to get all the way around. Flash is trying to block that off, though. I don't know if he's going to be able to. Some SCVs clogging up the pathway, but he's going to get four Lings in there. So, all right, he did actually lose a lot of Lings there, so very well done by Flash, but he's got enough in there to do some harassments, and he's working on taking out a couple of Marines and a couple of SCVs building things, and he is going to go for 2-hatch Muta, and now another run by. Flash doesn't have a good wall, and now Kwanro is once again in Flash's base. This is very reminiscent of the last game, and and he's going to see if he can do more damage here, but he hasn't decided what to attack quite yet, and great build-in placement by Flash is going to ensure that he can hold this without much of a problem. So far, Kwanro has been largely unsuccessful with his run-bys, even though he's gotten like 12 lings in altogether. So unfortunately for Kwanro, I think he's actually going to come out a little bit behind here, and Flash, assuming he gets that eBay up, he's going to be sitting pretty.
Yeah, Flash definitely has taken the early advantage in the initial blows, because Kwanro did get the lings in, but his initial ling, even though it was smart by him to run around behind, I think it took a little bit too long to continue running behind, and gave Flash the time to blockade with those SCVs, and only managed to get 4 through, couldn't really do any damage with them. That second group brilliantly snuck through the SCVs, despite the blockade by Flash, but wasn't able to do any damage. Flash did, by that stage, I think it was all down to that first run by, but if that first run by had been a little bit more successful, Flash wouldn't have been able to build up as many Marines and wouldn't have been able to defend as comfortably against the second run by, which did have a lot more lings in it. But unfortunately for Kwanro, he hasn't really done the kind of damage that he would have been hoping to do with his lings, and at the same time he's actually he spent those lings. He would have been so much better off having those lings now to supplement his Mutalisks as he goes in to harass Flash. But Flash, it looks like, is in a decent position. He's got a good amount of turrets up this time around. He doesn't seem to be cheaping out on those turrets, so it looks like he might just be getting the balance right with this build that he needs to get. And now this is going to be the critical part of the game as Kwanro comes in with those Mutalisks trying to harass. He picks up the SCV, focusing on the turrets. Flash immediately brings the Marines around. Kwanro continues to circle around and try and take those turrets down. He's forced back, however, not able to do the kind of damage that I think he was hoping to. More reinforcements arriving for Kwanro. The window of opportunity that he has to inflict serious damage on Flash is really brief here. He's going to manage to take one turret down and be pushed back yet again. But Rise, this window is closing upon Kwanro fast.
I gotta agree, man. He's not doing as much damage as he needs to do, and really, if he can take down a lot of turrets, yeah, that's great, because he really does force some economic expenditures on, you know, defensive buildings. But right now, he hasn't taken out many Marines, and more importantly, he hasn't harassed Flash's humongous economy, and I mean that is the backbone of this build, and really maybe he's taken out a couple of SCVs here and there that were building things, but in general he has not done enough damage whatsoever in order to stop Flash from gaining the just ridiculous power that this Terran player is going to have in about 2 minutes here, with 3 or 4 barracks just pumping Marines that aren't being taken out, and he's got stim, he's working on his upgrades, and really Kwanro just continues to take a lot of hits on those mutas and not inflict much damage, and he can't be doing that at this level, not against Flash. I mean, maybe against some other lesser Terran players like Frezine, but really Flash is not going to put up with that stuff. He's on top of his macro. He's a macro player, and already we see the 4th barracks going up. He's continuing to pump his units. You can see that the eBay actually doesn't look like it's blinking, so maybe he's not upgrading yet. He's spending all of his money on turrets, but now he's got a very solid defense up, and although he may lose another couple of turrets, oh man, I think that Kwanro is taking heavy hits here, and needlessly actually.
Yeah, Kwanro's managed to keep, I think, most of his Mutalisks alive, but I don't think that's going to bother Flash too much. Now Kwanro finally is able to get at that medic and Marine force. He kills 1 medic. I think that's probably the first Marine type unit that Kwanro has killed with his Mutalisks. Now he's going to take a couple more Marines down, and he really needs to do a lot more damage here with those Mutalisks, but I feel that the window of opportunity for Kwanro to really take a strong foothold in this game has passed, because now Flash is up to 4 racks, and he's pumping those Marines and medics out like no tomorrow, and he's got all of his SCVs intact. Kwanro just hasn't been able to get at that SCV line. Flash just holding that. Kwanro once again coming in, losing a few Mutalisks in the process, taking out a few more medics, and I really feel that if he'd preserved those earnings, I think Kwanro's aggression, obviously when he pulls it off, it is just so entertaining to watch and so superlative, but I fear that sometimes when he's over aggressive and overextends himself, then it starts to cost him. Now finally getting at that mineral line and picking off an SCV finally that's been mining. I think he did pick off 1 or 2 SCVs building turrets and repairing turrets, and it looks like meanwhile Kwanro is trying to get that expansion down at the 1 o'clock position. Flash now moving up with his medic and Marine force to try and take it down, and this is the critical part of the game here. If Kwanro is going to have any hope of coming back in this game, but that is a very, very large medic and Marine army that Flash has managed congeal together, and I really think Kwanro is going to have a tough time separating out and taking it down. Flash using one full group, or 1.5 full groups of medic and marines up on the top of that ridge on the high ground to hold Kwanro, sending only medics, only marines with no medics towards that 1 o'clock expansion. If Kwanro can spot that and circle around, he will be able to defend that expansion. Flash pulling back just in time, spotted by that Overlord, but that could have been disastrous for Kwanro. He is buying himself a little bit of time. There's just a question, and he's going to be able to take most of these marines out. So Kwanro is trying to fight back in this game. I'm not sure if he's really going to be able to recover though, because Flash has had 2 bases running for some time now, and being on equal base with Terran for such a long period of time in the game is not a position any Zerg player wants to be in.
For anyone that's actually interested in Muta Micro, go check out Az's videos under the account Asmer. He actually just put out a great Muta Micro tutorial that uses maps, and he goes through this actual micro right here of Mutalists using like the high ground to their advantage, and then the whole position micro basically to take out Marines. And he also does it for Scourges for anyone interested in ZVZ battles. So definitely worth checking out. But one thing that's very important to note here about what Kwanro is doing correctly is he's delaying that push. He's allowing himself to drone up and really get other units and higher tech buildings up and ready before Flash can really do any damage. And he is slowly whittling down that force, although that is a lot of medics. And basically he's trying to stall just long enough so he can get those eggs to pop, those lurkers. But the question is, can he actually do it? I don't know. I mean, there's a big surround in those, and oh, it looks like they are going to pop one burrows. The other one is going to try to burrow, but if it's focused on it, maybe take it out. It does burrow, but he's already lost the couple of drones that were mining at that base, which isn't going to be too big of a hit, actually. And now scan, and he managed to take out one of the lurkers. Flash is doing a great job here. It looks like he's going to take out almost all of the Zerg units. He takes out all the Muta. There is still one lurker left, and that hatchery might go down. Oh, man, he's got to be really careful with those lurkers. And scan again if he that is some micro right there. I mean, just running the Marine back and forth. He's got 5 medics to support, and now he's got an entire other control group of medic Marines to finish this off, even if he can't clear it out with that last Marine. And of course, he's not going to be able to take everything down with that last Marine at this point, but this next force may be able to do so. And if he can do that, Kwanro is going to be in trouble. But if Kwanro can defend, he's going to be in a fairly good position, because now he's got 3 bases up. We saw that he was working on Hive Tech before, not that it was pointed out, but he is. And he's got some new building there, a Defiler Mound going down for those lurkers. So as soon as that Defiler Mound gets up and ready, he is going to be in a strong position to push back on Flash. But if he can't stall for long enough, he is dead. And so Flash is now pushing in, putting the pressure on, and he looks very confident, by the way. And we'll have to see if Kwanro is able to defend.
Yeah, Kwanro is getting that Defiler Mine up pretty quickly. Flash has got his factory with Machine Shop and Starport with Control Tower up, however, but Kwanro has managed to hold that 1 o'clock. If that 1 o'clock had gone down, it would have been GG, but I think you've got to commend Kwanro for his Mutalist Micro in taking out the number of Marines that he managed to take down in the middle and slow Flash down for as long as he was able to. It still remains to be seen whether he's going to have enough, really, in terms of his economy to be able to deal with Flash in the mid-late game, because we all know how much of a macro monster Flash is, and just how large his army gets, and how once he gets rolling, he just rolls everything into a pancake before him. Flash now continues to amass his forces, his medic and marine force, and I guess just waiting for those science vessels and siege tanks to pop. But Kwanro, despite I guess a little bit of a false start with his initial run-bys, has given himself a chance in this game. But really where Kwanro wants to be right now is he doesn't want that medic and marine group capped, and Flash's got a dropship out as well. It could get spotted on the way there. Kwanro does have some Overlord's position, but that dropship looks like it's going to be circumnavigating the map and heading towards Kwanro's main, and Kwanro might be in trouble here, because that Kwanro is going to be forced to pull those lurkers from his natural expo, and Flash has got a good-sized group of medic and marines and only one Sunken there to defend. He does have a Defiler out, however. It looks like he's putting the second Sunken down. This is going to be touch and go. Kwanro is spread pretty thin here. I'm not sure he's going to be able to defend this. Flash now coming in with the dropship, and if he can take some tech buildings down, he's going to pretty much seal victory almost, I feel. Now Flash dropping the medic and marines. Kwanro reacting quickly though, brings the drones out, but those drones are getting taken down. Kwanro immediately loses about 4 or 5 drones. Now Flash trying to focus those Zerglings. Kwanro bringing Zerglings in. They're dying piecemeal. Flash's entire force primarily intact, and when the camera zooms in like that, you know that they're in trouble. Meanwhile, Flash doing a dual-pronged attack at Kwanro's front, forcing Kwanro to keep forces there. That Hive coming under fire. Kwanro cannot afford to lose his. Flash with a 3-pronged attack, now attacking the 1 o'clock expo. The Sunken goes down. Kwanro does have a couple of lurkers in there, so he's going to be able to hold the 1 o'clock, but the critical thing is his Hive continuing to come under fire from those Mech and Marines, and it looks looks like Kwanro is just going to be able to escape this, but Flash is going to now snipe that Defiler. That's going to suck for Kwanro, losing that Defiler. He couldn't really afford to do that, and Flash continuing to bleed Kwanro's units as Kwanro is forced to send them out piecemeal against Flash's units in the hope of whittling that dropship force down. So Flash has been very effective with that drop. Now that Evo Chamber is going to get cut down as well, and that's going to hurt Kwanro big time. So that drop really hurt Kwanro a lot. And as I was trying to say before this massive drop happened, where Kwanro wanted to be was he wanted to be camped with his lurkers outside Flash's natural. He wanted Flash to have to fight his way up across the map because territory for a Zerg player is key in Terran versus Zerg late game in order of getting those defilers through. And the higher up the map you let the Terran player get, the further you have to push them back. And Kwanro basically has got no map at all versus Flash. So Flash is just able to A-move his units all the way up almost to Kwanro's natural, and that's not where he wants to be. And Kwanro, with a very small skeleton force, is going to try and delay Flash as much as he can.
Well, if you notice, one of the things that is really working against Kwanro right now is the fact that he's got less production capability than Flash. Flash has lost his army once or twice already, and it just doesn't matter. Look how many units he has all over the place. He's got control groups of units ready to go at any time, it seems, and he's just very strong right now. And that's just a ton of Marines, although I didn't see many medics with them, so it may be a little bit less effective than normal. All right, they're just trailing behind. So, I mean, really, Flash, he's got a massive army at this point, and I just don't think Kwanro has what it takes. I mean, yeah, Dark Swarm is great and all, but it's not enough to win the game when you don't have enough units to actually fight. But, oh, Plague might help. Nice play, catching a lot of medics and Marines, and maybe even a tank or two, or it looks like a tank. And I mean, if he could actually use that to his advantage to do some damage, it'd be great, but it looks like he's not going to be able to do that. We're seeing 2-2 upgrades. Is that girl crying for Kwanro? I can't tell. It looks like she's crying. But those Plague units still running around, but they're not going to really be affected much. Now we're seeing an Ultralisk Cavern go down, but really, Kwanro's going to be... He's going to need a fourth base, a fourth gas to really support the amount of ultras that he's going to need to fight against Flash, and Flash is now on his third base. So, I mean, Terran versus Zerg, when you're even in bases, the Zerg is screwed. I mean, there's no way that Kwanro is going to be able to come back from this unless he gets a fourth base up very soon and can take out a good portion size of the army of Flash. And, oh, look at that, manages to take out the dropship. That's huge. But still, it's not really enough at this point as we see a Terran ball, a Terran bio ball, I guess I'd call it, a ball of shh. Yeah, so it should be pretty difficult at this point for Kwanro to defend this, I think, and I think Flash is going to take the second match at this point.
Yeah, Kwanro in a lot of trouble. Flash is now building up that critical mass of science vessels as well, and I think that Ultralisk Cavern is a little bit of a mistake from Kwanro. I have to say I'm very impressed with Kwanro's Defiler play. He's got a lot of plagues off, a lot of swarms off, despite Flash irradiating almost at will, but Kwanro has managed to keep those Defilers alive and get them in position and just about hold his defense and hold his three bases, which Flash hasn't been able to overrun him as of yet. His Scourge Micro has not been horrible, but it could be a little bit better. He hasn't killed any science vessels yet, and I really feel he needs to take those science vessels down if he's going to have any hope. He's going to have to coordinate. And I remember when Jaedong first started emerging onto the scene, that was his primary weakness, that he was good overall, but he couldn't bring everything together in that final attack. That was his main weakness, and Kwanro losing 6 Scourges there critically, not taking those science vessels out, and that was kind of the thing that reminds me of what Jaedong used to do initially, where he would bring the Scourges in and not really kill the science vessels, and he would waste a lot of Scourges, which is something he doesn't do anymore. If you see how impressive his Scourges are at taking out units, picking them clean out of the air, we saw that recently in his game against Cal. That was just pure brilliance by Jaedong. Now, Flash, meanwhile, going in, looks like he's going to take that expansion to south at 12 o'clock positions of Kwanro. There's no way Kwanro is going to be able to hold that, and he really needed to have that expansion intact. And Kwanro is really fighting with much smaller armies against the Terran player. Usually it's the other way around. Usually the Zerg player needs to have a larger army, but Kwanro just doesn't have it right now. He's going to try and retake that territory just south of the 12 o'clock position, but I fear he's not going to be able to, and it does look like Kwanro is just on the verge of being overrun. Those Defilers have kept him in, but he hasn't been able to pick those science vessels off, and I think that's the part of his game that I think will come together with more practice and with time, and when it comes, I think he will be a much more fearsome opponent for Terran players to deal with. Meanwhile, Flash taking down the 1 o'clock as well, so dual blow to Kwanro, and I really don't see him recovering from this.
He is doing something clever, though. He's actually using the drones under Dark Swarm to attack. Now, finally, with Ultras out, but very weakly upgraded. Only 1-2 or 1-3, which isn't bad, but at this stage in the game, when Flash is probably close to 3-3, he's 2-2 right now, but he'll be at 3-3 very shortly, and those Ultras just aren't going to be strong enough, especially when there's only 3 or 4 of them out at a time. And you can see Flash looks like he's got to be maxing out pretty shortly. He's got 8 barracks at this point, just pumping Marines and medics and fire bats and whatever else. And so really there's not going to be much more that Kwanro can do at this point as he uses his Ultras to clean up that little attack force that's left up at the 12 o'clock position. But he's already lost that base. He's down to 2 bases. He's got a drone to remake it, but it's too little too late when Flash is on 4 bases and he's got like 5 or 6 science vessels that can just irradiate at will whatever they want, and every single one of those are going to go down. You can see the look on Kwanro's face as I expect a GG from him in the next few moments after he tries to scourge what he can of these science vessels. And I really think as soon as he loses that last Ultra, that's going to be it.
Yeah, and finally the GG coming from Kwanro. He gets taken down by Flash, and I really feel that he could have been a little bit better with his Scourge micro, but I think he was behind the 8 ball from kind of the early game there, and it was hard for him to recover. I think he still put up a valiant fight, but in the end it's winning that counts, and I think Flash is going to be bursting with confidence now, and Kwanro, well, he still's got one more chance. Let's see if he can do it.
Well, I think Flash always is bursting with confidence, if he's not bursting with like sleep apnea or something, because he's always looks like he's about to pass out. But yeah, let's go to the next game. It's 1-1. Who will move on? See you there.
마지막 아웃사이드 경기가 진짜 기대가 됩니다. 똑같이 저걸 리드가 또 흔들렸으면 이영호 선수가 자멸할 수도 있었을지 몰라요. 그렇죠. 그런데 이영호 선수가 정신을 집하고 CX를 이용해서 차분하게 마치 알고라도 있었다는 듯이 막아내면서 가볍게 자신의 경기를 따내는 모습입니다. 한상봉 선수가 아무리 들이받아봤자 이영호 선수가 지난번보다 더 단단한 방패를 바꿔온 것 같아요. 그렇죠. 지난번에는 이영호 선수가 예상을